Kiwa, Paleo, Nideaki. My name is John Scott-Richardson. We met earlier, but for to reintroduce myself, an enrolled member of the Halawa tribe. My maternal lineage is Nezaman Saponi, and my paternal lineage is Tuscarora Maharan. And I come from the great state of North Carolina, but I lived here for 10 years. And so I used to work at Amarillo, which is on the Lower East Side, over there by Tompkins Square. And I did a theater program director there. And we produced off-Broadway shows here in New York. Most of them were Native shows, or Native American shows, or they were adaptations of, say, Trojan women. We adapted that to Native storyline because some things are, you can go across like storytelling moments in there and stuff like that. So we use those variants. And also film, television performer as well as cultural educator, powwow. Used to go to all the powwows, Bear Mountain, Queens, JFK, now it's down in Jersey. So I did all of the powwows here. So probably say we just had a small one called Drums Along the Hudson over here in Inwood, and a good friend of mine that Peter came, and a good friend of ours, Sean Taylor Corbett, he got honored there at that event. So just glad to be here today. Going to share an idea, concept with you guys called Storyweaving. It's a concept that was shared to me by some mentors of mine from Spider-Woman Theater. And if anybody know about Spider-Woman Theater in here, yes. You know a whole lot about it. You raised your hand before.
I saw your show. No offense.
Oh, you can stay. Oh. Yes. We'll edit that part. It's great. So Spider-Woman is a theater, all-female theater ensemble group that started about 40 plus years ago here in New York City. And they perform sort of an avant-garde type of, they write most of their material, but they implement a process called storyweaving, which is, if it's done with a lot of good energy and, good strong words, it really can be a powerful piece that you guys can use when you have different young people that may come from different backgrounds or may have different experiences, but then they can kind of come together, and as we noted earlier in the first session, they can really build a good ensemble or group work, right? And it also, there's another mechanism where people can kind of see or hear that things kind of, even though it might be two different moments of something happening, there's a kind of a congruency that happens with some situations and how we deal with them, right, and how we overcome certain things, right? So we're going to do an exercise a little bit later in the program, and I'm just going to kind of tackle a little bit over here. Oh my, love it. It's on point. So when we talk about story weaving, this is me. I talked about a little bit. We want an OB, by the way, for Between Two Knees, and so pretty excited about that. Just a funny joke. When somebody says Between Two Knees, what do you guys? You don't have to say it because the camera's visible, but it doesn't sound. It's just like people are like, what does that mean? Well, it means from Wounded Knee Occupation to Wounded Knee Massacre to Wounded Knee Occupation, right? Those two historical traumatizing events, and that's where it comes from. So I have, I don't want to talk about myself a lot, but I've done a few things. So yeah, many cultures have storytelling at the center of their communities. In Native American traditions, the various spiritual entities were usually the focal point. In a tribal village, there usually was one person left in charge of curating the stories. right? You had people that was like a historian that did the winter count and the spring count. They would paint different events that were happening in the community or things that they were experiencing. But then you also had individuals that kept stories, right? And these stories were used to teach, right? A lot of the stories don't necessarily have a definitive ending. It's usually something very organic, but it can convey a message. And we, the traditional Native American people, were observers. So the nature, the environment around us taught us really everything we needed to know. And so those stories also are stories. Those events are stories. So if I'm sitting here watching squirrel, gather nuts for the fall, for a long winter, and I go back and say, we need to, so I'm watching a story unfold before me, and then I'm taking that and going back to my community or my village and sharing that story to help our story, and again, as a part of the theme of the event is that we are all storytellers, but actually you are a story, period, right? And I spoke about that earlier today. So this picture here is, we typically in some cultures, some communities, whether it be out in the plains or in the east, we have some type of version of sort of a deity or individual known as Grandmother Spider Woman or Spider Woman. And she is an orchestrator of all things beauty. She came to teach us how to organize and how to arrange. So if you think about the intricacies of a spider and what a spider does, it organizes, it shows. And so even in the East Coast, some of the tribes reference Spider Woman as holding the planet in a web, right? There's polarity in male and female, right? And that web is actually holding the planet. Maybe out in the plains, the Spider Woman is seen more of a teacher in the sense of weaving together how the planets align in the solar system, but also people, right? And dreams and thoughts. And so a lot of the weaving patterns and baskets and rugs and remnants like that are all things taught by Spider Woman's teachings, right? And usually there's always like a mistake or something in there because we're not perfect human beings. We're all imperfect, trying to be perfect, right? And so we see these images of her, and very much like if you think about a dream catcher, right? That weaving in there, that sinew, is very much like the idea of Spider Woman organizing things. And so time, I didn't share this earlier today, but time actually loops. So things that happen when we tell stories, things that may have happened 100 years ago, right? With the beaver, say for instance, we're using beaver as our spirit, our person, or energy, and something that the beaver is trying to tell you about building and cultivating and conserving and arranging, like rearranging an environment, right? That story is still relevant today. Beaver's practices are still relevant today. And so we see stories as they loop in time actually being circular, not linear, right? And so you can click the next slide for me. So what is story weaving? Okay, some people, we know what storytelling is, right? I see something, I go through something, I have an emotional victory or defeat or whatever, and then I have a resolution, right? That's usually a general process of the story. And of course, characters come in and out and stuff like that. But story weaving is telling a story using firsthand knowledge, not so much historical knowledge, but something that happened to you directly, like yesterday or this morning, right? It can be that immediate. Experience of an event that is happening or recently happened. Various stories told about a current event directly from the person's lives or an activity, personal issue, or an impactful or traumatic event. Right, so we think about young people. I had this earlier today when a young lady spoke, what was in our class, and she said, well, I got a lot of kids coming from different countries, and some of them didn't come, here, like maybe not in the best of way, like they had some kind of trauma getting here. And I said, well, this may be a good way, in an indirect way, right, that you could take that and help them process through their trauma. Right? So this type of method can be used for that. It can be community-based or culturally based, usually 2 or more participants, right? You can't, I mean, I could do it, I could stand up and do it, but it doesn't have the same dramatic effect if I'm doing it by myself, even though if I'm the best monologue person in the wild world, which that's not the case. Working on it though, still working on it. It uses trickster figures that teaches us lessons like coyote or beaver or crow, wolf, these type of deer, different animals. All of those are not tricksters, but they teach us lessons. And a lot of times they may fool us into thinking one thing is happening, but yet they're actually trying to teach us a larger lesson, right? Personal anecdotes accompanied with music. This is a key that a lot of times we may overlook or may not implement, is the support of music in the process, or dance, movement, right, and art. So an example of, I kind of like, so 2 seemingly different stories. So like, for instance, I had a story that I'll share again later, but last night when I checked in to the hotel, I drove up last night, and I checked in Jersey, and I got in and there was I couldn't connect to the Wi-Fi. So I called, I wanted to get on the computer and do some stuff, and I didn't. Anyway, the lady wasn't very nice. She wasn't mean. She just was not very receptive to me calling. And it was like late. And so she was like, just click this and it'll work and da-da-da-da, right? But now somebody else might have had a situation just happened this morning where, somebody cut them off at the Starbucks, right? They just bust in front of them, or your coffee wasn't right? Any little story. So anything can happen. A human traumatic event might be, what was the event? When did it happen? Where did it happen? Why did you feel it happened? And how did you overcome it? Or a human learning occurrence, which is like, what did I learn from being involved in this situation? When did I learn it? Where did it happen? Why do you think it happened? And how did I learn from it? And so we can use animals or a combination with people to go on a journey to learn any lesson. For example, we use this a lot. For example, there's a young girl, and we're trying to combat stereotypes and prejudices and different societal things that might push against this young girl, right? And so we could say walks with a rabbit, or she rides a horse, and the goal is to take her on a journey where she becomes empowered. Right? So maybe she wants to learn how to fish, or she wants to learn how to work on a car, right? She takes this journey, and the horse is actually the one that's kind of learning it, but she's learning it too. And it becomes a way that you can deal with certain issues, but you use the suspension of disbelief by using an animal, right? And so, so then by doing this, the girl becomes empowered instead of just her going by herself to, say, the guy's house or the lady's house and showing her what to do. It's kind of a different way. And young people, they like that process a lot. This method, the intention is to bring together, to understand our life's lessons, to chart a path for understanding, and use a process to heal. Because a lot of times there are situations, again, of disenfranchisement or displacement, that this process can actually empower you and make you feel better about where your place is. What is the ultimate goal? It's important to talk about things that are hard and painful to talk about. It's kind of not quite a double negative, but a lot of times things that we know we should be addressing, we won't. And so using storytelling and using story weaving, you can do that. Again, suspension of disbelief by using objects, puppets. We talked about that earlier in the first class. Maybe it's is some kind of animal that they associate themselves with. They learn the movements of this animal, but yet they're learning how to navigate certain things in their life. And it's a way that we can use art in that way to say things that are hard to say. It is a way of telling stories also to see our place and value in the larger world, right? And that's where I think a lot of storytelling originated from, is because some things are just too large for our minds to grapple and understand. So we create stories around them so we can better process or manage them, right, in a certain way. So that we see ourselves better in the larger world. We always want to have fun when we're with the young people. Always, there are no rights or wrongs, and your whole life is a story, right? And then we think about, again, like I spoke earlier, the cyclical nature of nature itself. We are the story. And so and it's from our perspective that we can tell the story, but yet we are the actual story that's standing there unfolding right before people's eyes. So we're going to do a little exercise where what we do is going to hand you some paper and some pens, and you're welcome to participate if you like. And we're going to do a little fun exercise where, and while we're doing this, I'm going to ask each of you, you got pens? Okay. To introduce yourself first before I tell you guys all of the details of what we're going to write. Let's start here on my left. I like my left today. Yes.
I'm okay, so I get it. I'm Aura.
And you teach, or you theater?
I teach theater. I teach kindergarten through 5th grade.
Okay, great. Nice.
Hi, I'm Frank. I teach high school, and I teach theater, filmmaking, and broadcast drama.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Well,
Yeah. Hi, I'm Scott. I teach theater K through 5, and also I have a film production group as well for 5th
Wow.
grade.
Nice. Nice. Whoop.
Hi, I'm Rebecca. I teach middle school theater in the Bronx.
Oh, in the Bronx. Upper, middle.
South Bronx, Southview.
Okay. Okay.
Teaching at 195.
I used to work over that way. I'm always connected with the Bronx folks. So I used to work over there by off of 149th and Hunts, right there in Hunts Point.
Okay. Oh yeah, I knew about this point. Yeah. We're like a little over, I guess, from that, slightly north and over.
Okay.
I started at PS 195 in Soundview. It's up the Elder Avenue stop on the 6th, which is just one.
I'm
Past.
the Parkchester stop.
Yeah.
A bus or walk.
Nice. Bronx people. Very cool.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Kim. I teach kindergarten and 1st grade theater at PS 94 in Sunset Park, Brooklyn. If I'm not in Bronx anymore, I teach that. I went during the pandemic. Thank you, yes.
Hi, I'm Dan Harlan. I teach drama at P370K we're right off Brighton Beach. We're a D75 high school with a couple middle school classes.
Hi, I'm Tony Ann. I teach theater to K to 5 in the Upper West Side of Manhattan at a dual language school.
Name is Erin. I teach middle school 6, 7, 8 at Cunningham, which is in South Brooklyn, Kings Highway.
hello, I'm Gabrielle. I teach elementary school theater in Brooklyn, New York.
Wow. You guys, I'm in a room with some great people. I'm going to tell you why I say that, because I just recently moved back to North Carolina. I shared this earlier today with the first week, and they don't have hardly any, I'm in the rural area, there's nothing. It's nothing. I mean, and that's one of the things I'm been having conversations with to try to create or bring back or do something there. Most of the schools adopted the STEM program for funding, and they let even something as basic as drawing and pottery, or nothing. And so I just feel privileged to be in a room where, like the production, and like, oh my goodness, what's going on? And I'm just like, wow. So yeah. But anyway, that's just a little side note. So our process with this is, okay, so what we're going to do is, if you just briefly think of a situation that may have just recently happened to you, where you did not feel like you were empowered, well, not really empowered, but you did not feel like you were seen or heard. And it can be something funny. It can be like your dog didn't hear you, your dog, whatever, right? It didn't obey. It went in the house. It didn't go on the mat, right, or whatever. Or like I said earlier, something happening on the way to get coffee or on the train. Like for myself, it was the situation with the Wi-Fi and the Wi-Fi in the hotel room, right? And so take a second, write 2 or 3 sentences about that, and then the next line, you can state, you open a statement, then like what actually conspired in that. So like mine was, to give you an example of what I just wrote. Let's see here. What I wrote was, last night I did not feel heard. I was at the hotel and the room did not have internet. What happened, my piece in the middle is, so I called the desk person and they were not helpful and told me what to do, but it didn't work. So then I called back and it still didn't work. So I decided, in my ending part, so you want to end with a 3rd paragraph, I decided to not watch TV and read and prepare for today. But the 4th one is where you, like your claim to victory or your affirmation statement is like, for instance, is I am proud I stayed on task, right? And that's just it. You don't have to get longer than that. It can be even shorter than that. It can be something like, I have value. I feel seen. I'm here. My voice is heard. Or anything, something like that. I mean, it can be something small. But what we're going to do is, once you write it, you're going to take a few minutes to write it, and then we're going to bring people up or let people stand, and you're going to ricochet off each other, right? So you would say your line first, then I'll say my next line or my first line, then you say your second, then I'll say my second, and then but when we get to the 4th one, you say yours, but I can interject mine into yours. So if your last comment is like, my goal, and then I can say I feel heard, but then you still say yours. Don't stop saying yours, but you say my goal or my task is stay on goal or whatever the last part is, right? And the last part you're going to do like 5 or 6 times, and you're going to be accompanied by music. So you're going to have the drum. So in this case, I use the drum. And a lot of times the drum will influence the rhythms that you find yourself, your natural cadence that you get in when you're reading your exercise. Yeah. And so, but at the end, if there's something like, you want to say, I know I have value. I hit my goal. I know I have value. I hit my goal, right? More it bounces back and forth like that. It eventually starts to sound like one complete sentence, right? This is the affirmation, right? And this is kind of how one of the ways you can weave a story together, right? And then eventually it almost sounds like we had one group in here, a lady had a doorbell issue or something, right? Something like that. And then another lady had an issue at the Empire State Building, and it sounded like she was at the thing having a problem with the doorman. Literally, that's what it started to sound like at the end. So just take a few minutes to just write your moment down that you felt like you weren't heard or not seen. And you need a pen? Are you good? Okay. Oh, just stressing a little
Yeah.
bit.
So let's probably take like 5 minutes to write this 4 small paragraphs, no more than 2 to 3 sentences each,
Yeah.
and then your last affirming victory paragraph will be 1 sentence. Okay? If anyone needs paper or pens, just let me know. Just 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, perfect. Hmm?
Already. Yeah. See.
In about 2 more minutes, we'll clear a few volunteers. And just kind of familiarize yourself with it a little bit. So just kind of read it over a couple times to yourself. You're not going to be off script, not going to be off book on this. But And again, your last part can be kind of short. It can be, 2 or 3 words, or it can be, just something that you could say with a lot of conviction and a lot of, strength, or you feel, I guess, real good about. Alrighty, so we're going to demonstrate for you without this drum. So again, generally you add music or some kind of music. It can be something live in accompanied sound, or some kind of arrangement of music design. It can be designed a certain way. But the music actually creates sort of like sometimes a tempo. And sometimes we'll find ourselves sort of moving to the beat of, I'm gonna use a drum when I do for you guys. And that typically, sometimes you find how you deliver your words, a cadence to that as well. Again, we typically, like for me, for instance, and we had this conversation earlier, that a lot of people resonate with the drum or the sound of the drum, right? A lot of that's due to, it's the first sound that we hear from our mother's heart when we're in our mother's stomach, right? We hear that constant rhythm or that beat, and that sound we connect with. Sometimes we don't even understand why, right? Because I'm not going to get into a lot of metaphysics or nothing like that, but there's a memory in our body, and our body remembers those sounds, those things. That's why certain smells connect you and can do certain things, because our body remembers. So we're going to do a demonstration of it a little bit. And so basically what you're going to do is going to come up in groups of 1. We didn't have, 2 or 3, I'm sorry, not 1. 2 or 3 or more. We only had people to do it in 2s. You notice that? Only 2 people got up. It'd be interesting to see if we get like 3 or 4 people, But basically, so we'll let her go first this time. I went first last time. So she'll read her first sentence, and then I'll read my first sentence. Then she'll read her second, I'll read my second. Then she'll read her third, and I'll read my third. Then she'll start on 4. And I may interject my 4 before she finishes. But she will complete hers, and then we'll try to find sort of like, so basically, you may hear intersectionality or some kind of connection to what her affirmation statement is and mine, right? And that is an ensemble work. You can sometimes take a theme and use a theme, say like, or color, like everything at the end has to have a color red in it somewhere, right? Or what have you like that. But we're just going to do a basic one right now. So let her go first. Yep.
Yesterday's schedules, life responsibilities, all a mess.
Last night I was at the hotel and the room didn't have internet.
Must I know, where is Grace?
So I was called, the front desk person, who was not helpful, told me that what to do, and it didn't work. And then I called back and it still didn't work.
Kitchen, a communing space, a fellowshipping place, breaking bread, not breaking down.
I decided to not watch TV and read and prepare for today.
Stop. Reclaim. Reframe.
I hit my goal.
Grace is here.
I hit my goal.
Grace is queen.
I hit my goal.
Grace is here.
Hit my goal.
Grace is queen.
See? So that's the process. That's the stuff. So, but it's going to have also, you're going to have the support of an accompaniment with the rhythm of the drum. So now this adds another element. It can be movement. Again, like I said, it can be dance. Some people walk around and do it. Some people sit. Whatever the case may be. But so do I have any 2 or more volunteers that want to go and give it a shot? I see somebody. Seems like it's for a partner. Okay, there's 1. Okay, there's 2. 1, 2, 3. Come on. Yeah, we go do 3. Yeah.
They were in my freezer. Perhaps a little too long.
No, that's okay.
Okay, sorry.
That's all right.
Maybe look at my gosh, phone's got
Typically, this will be, typically once you've done it, to be in monologue form, right? So you be on stage, maybe in different points of the stage, but and as the song, sometimes we've incorporated dance, like a round dance or something, and as the song goes around, the person that lands at the front will do theirs, right? Like right off the, right up to that. And then we'll go to the next person. And then eventually everybody would step forth and then they would interject. But you can find, so this kind of, and it teaches you to listen really well to the other person because, again, they have pauses and where they, in their last paragraph, they might have just a natural pause there. You kind of will feel how the person talks, and then you can put yours in, right? You can come in with yours. And so, let's see, we give it a shot. We have fun with it, right? Okay. So, but I'll sing first for a few minutes, and then once you guys feel comfortable, who's going first? You 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, and then just whenever you're ready, yes. Just whenever you're ready, like I said, and wherever you feel comfortable to start, don't pay attention to me. But eventually you might pay attention. So, okay.
No longer a child, but definitely not an adult, I was suddenly a stranger in a strange land. Deeply uncomfortable with the lack of diversity in this strange new town, I leaped hard, perhaps too hard, into that which made me different. This made me at best a curiosity, and at worst a freak in the eyes of my classmates at school. The outcome, oddly enough, I was ignored.
My drama kids received the least consistent, visible support of all of the performing arts programs in my school.
I sent an email telling the staff about show info and logistics so that they could prepare their staff for the event. In the email I wrote, please confirm you've received the message and will prepare appropriately. I did not receive a response.
My parents didn't understand the deep loneliness that comes with feeling invisible. They had moved for good jobs at the liberal arts college. To them, Roanoke, Virginia wasn't really all that bad, but they didn't have to attend the local high school in a conservative neighborhood.
My shows had limitations on their show times and on who could go in the audience. And as a result, parents couldn't come and students couldn't come. So they had small and less supportive audiences than the other shows this year.
I sent a follow-up email and still didn't receive response. So I went in person to talk to one of the staff to check in. They said all was good and they would take care of their part.
I looked up every theater company in the area. I auditioned for everything I could. And eventually, I got it. I started working for the regional theater then.
Because my shows are dramas, they receive no public celebration in the lobby. Just because they're not a musical or a dance or a music show. My admin forgets to congratulate my students. My principal hasn't seen anything of my students since 2022.
Their event comes, and the smaller logistics I had inquired about were not taken care of. I was annoyed. This is why I kept checking in.
I found my people. I took my life and I shaped it as much as I could to something I recognized. I felt seen.
I don't stop doing the work, and I will have to raise my voice to remind all the folks that we are here.
I did my part. I hope you feel prepare better next time and follow through with your promises.
Fast. Go ahead and begin.
I felt seen.
I don't stop doing the work.
There you go.
Let's work better together.
I found my people.
I will have to raise my voice to remind all the folks.
Let's work better together.
I felt seen.
We are here.
Let's work better together.
I'm so curious because we do have the time. So, first group, thank you so much for volunteering. You're going woo woo. What did we experience just from that first group? What did we see, notice, wonder? My brain started interweaving the stories together, which was really cool. For me, even listening to your stories, they really started to mesh. As you said, they were as one. Yeah.
I noticed that the building was more intense. So did they.
Yeah.
And then I thought it was really cool. I was like, oh wow, look at that.
Yeah. That's everybody else.
Yeah, I agree that the drums made it, brought a lot more emotion to the sentences, what they were saying. So.
For the storytellers, how about you, as you were experiencing it?
I know earlier in the day you called the drum with a heartbeat, and that is very much what it felt like. We're up there, kind of a connecting heartbeat, to our stories.
I sort of felt like it was funny. I mean, there was just sort of like almost funniness about it. Like it, the beauty of what theater means to a kid. And then and now let's boil it down to the granular irritation of what it means for the theater teacher just to get that thing for that theater thing for the kid, right? Right? To me, it was magical and bananas once I heard this beautiful piece, and then I went, I'm gonna be a little gripey. and then, so I sent an email out, just making, I thought it was fantastic. I mean, the order could not have been better, I guess is what I would say, right? The order could not have been better for what this was in that way.
Yeah. But it kind of goes with just hearing everyone's stories where it's this feeling of you have the idea of what something can be and all the beauty that comes with it, and you see all of the potential and you see the vision there, and then it's and you're pulling and pulling and fighting trying to get to here, and it's exhausting. But it's that fire, it's but we can get there, that makes sense. It's all the things to make art happen, and it's finding peace with saying, okay, this is where we are, and little by little we'll get here, however long it takes. If that makes sense.
That's the thing with the element of the drum, right? Because it taps into something that's very primal, right? And so, again, like I said, we're very rhythmic beings here on the planet, and it sort of breaks down the wall and frees you a little bit more to gravitate and lean into your own natural. I noticed you got a little bit more, your words got a little stronger in the second when you said your part. And I know her part was she was landing hers real strong at the end. And you were very, very, very intuitively starting to connect with her so you didn't have to get a cue from her to know she was going to stop, because you could feel the energy when she was going to stop, right? And so, but the drum kind of helps bring all that kind of it can be anything though. It can be, so this is another thing that I talked about earlier, and I guess we kind of getting ready to wrap a little bit.
I was sitting on time for another one.
Oh, we do? Okay. Well, the other thing I was going to say too is that you can use other instruments. It doesn't have to be a drum. But the drum typically has a little bit more of resonance within, and less auditory and more in feeling intrinsically. And I guess if that makes sense, inside the body, right? You hear the flute, but you don't feel You know, and the story I shared earlier today is about how the drum, we call this in Ojibwe, it's called the Dewegon, which means a living vessel. So that's one of the reasons too, you can always incorporate, if your children know some of their traditional language, right, from where they may be from, you can incorporate the language. Because the language is most ancient or traditional languages is an active language. It's a verb-based language. Most English language is noun-based or active, but most indigenous languages is a verbal-based language. I mean, it requires action. So, or movement. So when we talk about this is a hide, living hide. This is a buffalo's hide, skin, and it reacts to the environment. It's still alive. When it's humid out there, it's just as flat and curly as my hair is, right? But when it's not, it's just as tight as it wants to be. But the story with this, I'll share real quick, is a drum, is that there was a warrior that was really good at the battle and hunt. He would go out and he would bring back deer and buffalo and antelope. The village always had food. But as the hunter got more and more good at what he's better at his skill, he also started to develop an ego. Right? He said, I could do it. Nobody else can do it as well as I can, which typically can happen, right, in society today. And so he was going out, and grandfather noticed this, and grandfather said, and he struck that warrior down, knocked that warrior down, and he fell, hit his head, and he was out for a little while. And when he woke up, he had noticed that there was a big storm had come up. You know, thunder beams was up, and village was quiet, everything, and lightning had struck a tree nearby, and that tree had a hole in the center, and it was usually like a red oak or some kind of aspen tree, and it was big, and it was smoldering. And when he had struck him down, that hide he had on his back when he was out for a hunt, that fell back on that tree, and he looked for his hide. He saw his hide over there. And he saw smoke all around it. He went over there and touched it. So, recognized that sound. And he did it again. And I was like, oh, wow, that sounds like thunder. And so, Creator says that as long as I'll give you this drum, but you have to remember to not have ego. You carry this drum back to your people, and your people will always have food to eat, stories to tell, but you can't have an ego. So he gave him that drum, and that drum was created, and it carries that sound of thunder. You can hear that thunder coming from miles away sometimes. Right? Sometimes you hear it and then you wait, you're like, right? Sometimes that's, and so that, remembering that, and remembering that it lives in us is why I think it connects us when we do this type of method of storytelling, right? Or, yes, sir, you have a question?
That was just a comment. It was something during your guys' comments. I came in, did not participate or see the exercise. I just saw the sharing. I assumed that three of you had rehearsed and that the pieces were connected previously. That was my assumption. And so hearing you talk about how anticipating, you started being intuitive and empathetic, and how she started responding, and it could not have been in a better order. I think what's really cool is no matter what order they were in, it could not have been a better order. And that the drum was connecting you, but I'm sure everybody else was feeling it here. Every time the drum was being hit, I was part of your performance. It was a unifier, so it was just the mystique of the story that was keeping you guys all connected. It was that beat of that drum. So I just wanted to share that because I thought it was very powerful.
Yeah. So anybody else want to try? Yeah, you need one more, at least one more. Can't do it by myself. Okay. All right. I got to think of a new song now. That's okay. Yeah. So yeah, as you get to that fourth paragraph, you say it, but as you again feel in and lean into, if you feel an inclination to say it, shout it, feel free, right? We're all no judgment definitely in this room for sure. So just don't be too loud that you don't want to disrupt them next door. All right. Let me figure out when I start. Just whenever you feel like you want to start, after I start playing, just go for it. So you're going first.
So,
Sure. Okay. All right. Let's see.
When I was cleaning my roommate's car, a neighbor came outside. He informed me that the car was blocking his driveway.
I made my way, traveling by train, at 7:29 in the morning. I saw the conductor click away tickets, but she did not see me, waiting with mine.
In fact, the car was not blocking the driveway. It was a few inches over the yellow line he had painted on the sidewalk.
I did not feel good, but I didn't know why. Shouldn't I feel grateful for a free ride?
I assured him I would have the car moved 2 inches so as to not block his driveway. Later, my roommate came and moved the car.
I found myself feeling invisible, then confusion by the influx of self-doubt. It's not a big deal. But then I prepared to rise, seeing my reflection in the train window.
I was kind and gracious to my angry neighbor.
I am more visible than I feel.
I am a kind neighbor.
I am more.
I am kind.
I am visible.
I am kind.
I am visible. I am visible.
I am kind.
I am visible.
I am kind.
I am.
And again, it's a moment for your young people, yourselves as well. That to leave. So you leave this spot. You may have came in the group sort of feeling disconnected, or as you spoke about earlier, like a lot of things you're trying to gather together, right? But then you feel sort of a synergy and a coming togetherness, right? And you just feel a little bit better, I think. Just once it's done, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the sound of the drum, but so
How interesting, coincidental, non-coincidental that we have a story of travel and journey.
yeah.
I think that's amazing. And so I think there's also opportunities for students or anyone in doing this to find synergy in the most surprising of ways, right? To say, oh, we're connected. And even your artistry and your creativity is connected, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Did anyone else want to go before we move into our reflection? Okay, so we have some time to do a little bit longer, more in-depth reflection. And also, if you have questions, I want to hold some space for you to ask questions as well. But I'm going to ask you to first just turn and talk to someone in the room who you work with, would like to know. And I'm going to ask you to just think about what struck you as a participant and as a learner, or as a performer and an audience member from this activity. So what struck you, and then what felt relevant to your teaching and your practice? What are some takeaways that you feel you could use from this activity, the activity as a whole, or parts of it, lessons learned in your own classroom practice? So we're going to give about 5 minutes for you all to just have some conversation, to debrief the exercise together, and then we'll do it as a full group. Great. Thank you.
I also didn't.
Yeah, it's for the story. And that's so we get back to second grade.
It's a little abstract.
Yeah. You just have to, write their stories.
Right. So very why your first part.
Yes, I know. But I mean, that was 13. So,
I'm only
Of the phenomenon of
what would it look like? There's a couple students who, with small modifications, could do that. Speakers,
and
just having something sequential is
how others perceive
its own style. But like, what would it look like? I'm thinking like if it were, say, morning routine, or something that I have to familiar with. Like if I was telling this story, it's like I write flyers a lot. I agree. And so just when I'm hearing brushing my teeth and hearing stuff.
not a bit. I mean,
It depends on the class.
I think you don't. I'm not going to do fiction for whatever reason. But I
doing those things step by step.
So a lot of when I choose a lot and so I very much I went to not shy they all but also like I like the term you used victory and
But two thematic and related stories that can hold in alternating, at the same time alternating, could work in a lot of other contexts too.
Yeah. This play so I got this monologue. I can absolutely hear it.
So it's a way to work on monologue.
But I have an idea that I have in mind. So
It can be kind of like, okay, well, I'm doing her own thing.
and then they can work on it by adding more their voice with the emotion in their voice, and in their expressions and some gestures.
Plus, you can have a if you have two kids there, you can have a third kid doing the drums or doing whatever. This for the whole audience.
Or you can even have somebody painting like me, but if they do the story, they can even.
Right, you could have four. You could have one speaker and one actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I go along with that.
See that?
What was the other thing?
You could even do it as like a group thing, like where you have one speaker and then like with the routine thing, and then a bunch of kids acting out the story that they're saying, and one speaker, and then a bunch of
So
kids
that everybody's
acting out.
involved.
So that everybody.
Otherwise,
Or if I'm just thinking for my classes, if I have a couple of kids who are speakers, then a couple of kids who are non-speakers, they could be like, we're going through the motions of this, whatever narrative we're saying here.
and I have a dual language school, so I will saying it in their native language as well.
Oh, or you could. What if you had one story, but you had one person and you were doing instead of two different? Yeah, I don't know. That changes the activity too much.
But that's another. You can. Why not? You can.
Yeah.
It's a hard job. They don't have
good for your class.
It's just like, oh, this is kind of like this is really it's very important. It's just very. It's like this happened to me, and I really want to talk about it. And so I wonder what would happen if, like, I don't think it would look exactly like this with drum and everything, but
And thinking about some of the key takeaways, some of the lessons that might be implementable, or what struck you. I'd love if we could bring the conversations out to the fuller group. Anyone want to share? And it went silent. Yeah.
So we were talking about how to make modifications based on us students, like accommodations that they needed, or for younger students, like giving them a prompt to tell them like you were saying, what was it? Tell me how you get ready in the morning, like brushing your teeth, or some routine that they're used to.
Yeah.
For the younger students.
I love that.
And then I also teach in a dual language school, so they could do it in their native language, or one person could, they could translate for each other, and they can, one person will tell the story in English, and the other one would say the same thing in Spanish. Like you could do something like that. Or we can even add some pantomiming to it. Kids who are too shy to do that, and they can pantomime their story.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
With the people telling it.
It's a great integration of
something like that.
Yeah.
University of Nine for Learning. I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Lindsay. Hi, I'm one of your facilitators this year. I'm executive director of Arts Ignite, and we do a lot of multilingual learner theater residencies in the 5 boroughs. And I was thinking in between sessions about the sentence prompts and how that also could be helpful, not just for younger learners, but also once ESL youth, and giving them a little structure about how to set it up. And then it also kind of gives you a structure for the story too, especially with that back and forth.
Yeah, you can always start what we call fishbone. You start at the back, right, and go forward, right? Yeah, so you start at the tail and you move forward with just the thing, like yours was. I feel heard, or what was it? I feel.
Raise my voice, so we are here.
We are here. Okay, so what does it mean? We are here, right? And then you can go forward. And sometimes that part actually works better, because it's almost like you fill in more detail going that way, right? Sometimes going forward, you might get to the end and be like, oh, I should have put that in. But coming from the back, you think of that part first, right? So it's another way to kind of organize it as well. Yeah. So I hope you guys like it and can use it somewhere, or find a moment to think, he made a little sense maybe today, and so, but just something interesting for the young people to try. Yeah, I like the idea, like you said, have one, if they speak, say Spanish or another French or something, right, and to do it that way, and then have the other first, that's a very, because then you can see how active some of the language. I know Spanish is more verb-based language, right, and so you can see how active and what language uses their hands mostly more when they talk, right, and stuff like that, and put that out, and people can see that it's just another thing to play with, so. Yep.
I know you want to do some closing acknowledgements as well. I'll skip the closing acknowledgements.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I don't know. It's a lot. Dancing. That one thing I did one time, I went to that in not Fred Astaire. What's the other?
Gene Kelly.
Jane Kelly. No, it's a dance company in New Jersey. In Red Bank, and it's called not Fred Astaire.
No, I know. Sorry.
Was it?
Frank Sinatra?
Not Frank Sinatra. It's some dance thing, and I did.
Arthur Murray?
Yeah.
I saw when you made
and I did a workshop on animal. Like they had a play that they were going to do, and they had a lot of animal roles in it. So I came in and did a lot of different dance or pantomime movements, right, and taught the kids certain things to do, because we have when we dance, in some of our dances, we have an eagle dance, a buffalo dance, different things like that, alligator dance. Most of them are social dances, right? But we worked on that to incorporate just to sort of to embody the movement of while you're in the dance space in a play. And that was pretty interesting, and the kids really loved it, because it just helps them believe in the story more, right? Because your body demonstrates more, I guess, with the movement and more energy when the body is embracing it as well as what you say, right? I mean, what's coming out your mouth. So, yeah. So y'all are here all day, huh? Nice. I'm here all day too. So I just wanted to say real quick. I forgot. Lindsay was like, "Hey, you gotta." So these are some of my mentors: just Gloria and Miriam Miguel of Spider-Woman Theater. Also, Miss Barbara Strickland, who is Lumbee. Miss Irma Estelle Laguerre, who's Taino. You might have seen her around New York City. Mr. Arnold Richardson, who is my uncle, and he's a cousin, uncle in our culture. They both are interchangeable. Tuscarora Saponi and Mr. Lloyd Arnich. He's one of the fluent speakers of Eastern Cherokee language. He's a great storyteller that lives down in North Carolina. And so those are some people that I just want to acknowledge as helping me on this journey as becoming a better storyteller as well. So, yeah. Well, thank you guys for
Thank you. Thank you.